Hey everybody, welcome back to the Check Engine Podcast. It's the only podcast produced by three winners of IMSA's Spirit of the Race Award. I am one of them. My name is Nick, and I'm joined by the other two guys here. I've got Tristan and Andrew along for the ride as per usual. What's going on, guys?
Not much.
Yeah, we're recovering from a long weekend at Road America. I've finally been inside in the air conditioning enough to finally begin to cool down. This is well on a week later, but hey,
Fluff back up a little
yeah,
bit.
yeah, exactly.
I'm just looking ahead, man. I'm looking at Monday. I'm looking at some big events. I'm looking.
Whatsoever are you talking about, Mr. Tully?
Us interviewing a NASCAR driver. That's right, for real.
A for real NASCAR driver.
I can't wait. It's gonna be so great.
This is not a hoax. It is not a joke. He is real. He is a human. I've met him, and crazy to think about it. 6 months ago, we didn't have a podcast, and here we are, looking down the barrel of interviewing a full-time NASCAR Xfinity racer.
Xfinity, and he's racing the Cup this year too.
He just made
full-time Xfinity. And he just did double duty at Watkins Glen, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
For both Xfinity and Monster Cup.
Yep, so that was his only Monster Cup this year. I think he did 2 Monster Cup starts last year as well.
I think I read.
So, younger kid, he's from our home state. He's a Wisconsin kid. Came up through the SECA stuff. He did Spec Miatas and some Continental Tire sports car stuff. He ran some BMWs there. He did a little bit of Trans Am. He really just hopped in whoever would give him a ride.
Yep. Do they have a seat? Great. He had a helmet.
He's done well enough to impress enough people, and he's made us good relationships. He treats people the right way, and he got a full-time opportunity in the NASCAR Xfinity Series this year.
Man.
Now I think we've skipped a bit, though, Nick. Who is this mystery man?
That's right.
We have not said his name.
I think we did, haven't we?
Oh. We got too involved.
We got too very excited by the big time here.
Oh yeah, by the way, his name is Josh Balicki. If you guys want to look him up.
Way to follow through on my setup, Nick. Thank you so much. Oh yeah, by the way, his name is Josh Balicki.
We said it. We definitely said it.
Yeah. So Josh Balicki, look him up. He is a real person, and he's gracious enough with his time. He's super super busy, but he's gracious enough to let us yak at him. For about an hour and a half coming up on Monday. It's going to be sweet.
That's how you know he's still a rookie in the sport. No one else would waste their time with a bunch of idiots like us.
Exactly. He has about 700 more likes on his Facebook page than we do on ours.
Still,
700 times, I should say.
But I mean, really, he's the real deal, and I just can't believe that he would give us this opportunity. So thanks to Josh, I am so unbelievably pumped up.
Yeah, this is going to be really cool. And I think even cooler than the interview, as cool as that's going to be, is we're doing this at an indoor kart track. So after we interview him, we're going to get to race him.
Man, my pride's already heard about that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm fired up. I want to beat him.
So I may have a game day injury.
Oh, shut up. You're dry toe.
I came up
turf toe?
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think if any of you are lucky enough and faithful listeners enough to actually pull this up early. We'll put it up probably late Sunday. Pick it up late Sunday, early Monday morning. Then you will be lucky enough to be able to catch the announcement and know where we're going. We will put it here. Might bring in a few people. We're going to be doing some indoor karting with him on Monday evening at what is it? It's Veloce Indoor
Speedway.
I couldn't remember. Racetrack, Speedway, Motorplex, yeah, lots of different things. Veloce Indoor Speedway in kind of the Pewaukee, Waukesha area. If you're local, and you're the early bird and you take a listen to this podcast, that's your ticket in. We will be there. Come and meet us 5:30. So we're gonna start recording and should be racing by
7:30ish.
So,
but here's the deal: like we kind of want to low key invite people because this thing was set up at super short notice. So the manager at Veloce told us they can handle about 20 people before they have to adjust their staffing.
Yep,
so we don't want them to have to adjust their staffing like on a day's notice.
Yep. So that's why, like I said, if you're
it's a low key invite.
Low key invite. If you were the early bird who gets this particular worm, congratulations.
That's right. Oh man, I just And we're going to get dominated. We're probably going to get lapped by this guy.
I won't. I want to say...
I will.
Listen to this.
I want to beat him.
I was the slowest one on the track at your bachelor party. I will definitely be
That's
being left.
true.
So
I was the slowest my first time, though. I was very afraid. And then I was like, oh, wait, maybe I won't die.
probably not. It's an indoor
You
track.
definitely won't die with a NASCAR driver on track because he won't hit you.
Obviously.
But
I will be terrified of getting in the way of an actual racer. Ugh.
oh, it's gonna be great.
This is a lot of pressure. This is a lot of pressure.
You're getting way too anxious over nothing.
This is a lot of pressure.
What, the interview or the race?
Yes.
All of it.
Yes.
This is
Yes.
Listen, we're just a bunch of guys who yuck around about cars on a podcast here. Like you say, Nick, we are not professionals.
He is a professional.
He is a professional.
Yeah, he's a professional.
That's what I'm saying.
But super nice kid.
No, it'll be a good time.
Very,
so.
very, very chill about this kind of stuff. I actually mentioned to him when I ran into him at the IndyCar race at Road America, and I mentioned to him about how he's like, oh, hey, how have you been? And I'm like, I've been good. My buddies and I started a podcast, and like he immediately perked up. I wasn't going to ask him about anything until I saw his facial expression and his body language just change when I mentioned podcasts. So I'm like, maybe sometime. And before I could even finish the question, he's like, I'd love to. So
Awesome. Thanks, Josh.
thank you so much,
Thank
Josh.
you. That interview will be going up next week, before our inaugural NASCAR trip to Road
So it's
America.
perfect. The timing couldn't be better.
He will be racing that weekend.
He will be racing in Road America.
So we'll get a little bit of timely content, nice lead in to that weekend, and hope you guys all enjoy.
Awesome.
We got really cool couple weeks coming up.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's going to be a cool couple weeks for this podcast. So, is that good for the pace lap? We want to just bounce into this,
That's
or
so good.
Sounds good to me.
That's so much good stuff.
good stuff? Also, as good as my new mic position today.
You like that?
This is a lot more comfortable for me.
He's actually, folks, he's holding it.
We have table mics.
I guess like a large ice cream. Don't
licking
like
it.
that. Don't like that.
Um,
It's not gonna go.
yeah, we have
anything.
mics that's they have little tripods on that stand on the table, but mine is not like the deluxe version like Tristan and Andrew have, so it doesn't have a telescoping neck on it. So I have to like crouch over to talk all the time. So I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just gonna hold on to it like a handheld mic.
So let us know how you guys like that.
Yeah.
Let us know. Hashtag put it down or or hashtag hold on tight.
We've got a lot of hashtags to get out and about, by the way, too.
That's right. We have another huge. We got another thing.
We can wrap up with that. Can we wrap up with that, or do you want to just get right through it now?
Let's go through it now. This is we got so much cool stuff that
All
happened.
right, so you probably already saw, folks, we posted a picture of the man on our social page on Facebook and stuff, much like we posted our Bilicki announcement. One of the coolest parts for us at Road America was running into Ryan Eversley. He is a driver coach, a world-class GT racer, sports car racer. He's done 24 Hours of Daytona, the 12 Hours of Sebring, full-time in the Pirelli World Challenge. This year he is racing the Civic Type R in the TCR category for real-time racing in Pirelli World Challenge. Going for a championship this weekend in Utah, by the way. He is leading the points with 2 rounds to go.
Love it.
But he also co-hosts his own podcast called Dinner with Racers. If you get sick of us rambling on, please go check out Dinner with Racers because you will not be disappointed. If you like our podcast, you will love theirs.
They do what we do, but better.
Way better.
They are professionals.
Because they are professionals.
Exactly.
But we ended up spending 5-10 minutes just chatting with him. He's super cool, super nice, tells great stories, very engaging, very fun. I was wearing my CEP t-shirt, and he actually told me, hey, I recognize the logo, which is very flattering. And I told him that we vandalized Mid-Ohio with it, and he said, hey,
did.
guerrilla marketing, I like that.
That's exactly what we did.
So he was awesome, and he is essentially, whether it's official or not, he's a Honda / Acura quote unquote factory driver. Like all the stuff he's driven over the past 4 or 5 years, or 90+% of it has been from Honda or Acura. And he was telling us that he really wants to run for Team Penske at the Daytona 24 in one of those new nice Acura DPI prototypes. And he's trying to talk with his contacts at Acura to try to plant that bug in Roger Penske's ear and they're like, well, we'll ask Mr. Penske if he wants to do it. And he's trying to tell him, like, no, you fund his team. You can call the shots and just tell him. So we're going to start a campaign here, folks. Hashtag Eversley to Penske. We're going to try to get him on the grid in that prototype in 2019 for the 24-hour.
Yeah, Penske's a big fan. He'll listen to this podcast.
Yeah, Penske will listen.
Mr. Penske, are you listening?
DM Team Penske on all the socials with hashtag Eversley to Penske, EVERSLEY. TO, not the number, but TO.
Penske.
Penske, PENSKE. Eversley to Penske.
Let's get it going.
Let's get it going. Even I want to see that even more than, hashtag Fun Nick's Racing.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Because I think this one actually has a shot to happen.
It could. It could very well happen.
Yeah.
Let's get it going.
Let's get Ryan Eversley in a DPI in Daytona next year. Ryan, thank you for your time. Best of luck. You're awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Thanks for listening in.
What next?
Wow. Okay. Do we have any other earth-shattering huge news that we almost forgot about?
We have so much exciting news, we almost forgot about part of it. That's the crazy part. I would say I don't recall anything. No.
I think we can move on to the topic.
Hashtag Fun Nick's Racing.
Yeah.
Remember
Throw
that one
that
too.
one in there one more time.
A little bit.
Just, hashtag Fun Nick's Racing. All right. So, Andrew, what is the tee this up for us?
Well,
Set the table.
We a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago, we did a show and tell episode where each brought our own thing and just brought to the table without anyone really knowing, any of the other guys really knowing what we were going to bring. Just kind of get some natural reactions. We think it went really well. We think we want to do another one of those. Nick actually went above and beyond. He brought an actual item with which to do the show and the tell. So
Just like he's at school.
I know. So what did you do on your summer vacation?
I want the gold star
you want
on the poster.
You should go first.
I'll
This has
stick
been
a
sitting right in front of me.
CDP sticker to your head.
Yeah.
There you go. Vandalize you.
All right. So I'm leading this off.
You should. I need to know.
And I will definitely go last because although I think mine is potentially interesting, it will probably be the shortest content. So
All right.
we'll let you guys take the spotlight here this time.
Well, thank you, Tristan. Yeah. So for my show and tell, I want to bring up this article that I found in the August 2018 issue of Road and Track magazine.
Mm-hmm.
It is about the McLaren Senna. And I want to come at this. There's 3 or 4 different angles I want to kind of take in this. So the first thing is, let's just get through, because this is a car podcast, let's just get through the specs on this car. We'll just run right through it. So
Sure.
McLaren Senna 2019 model year. It's their new, they make a lot of sports and supercars. This is their hypercar, basically.
Yep.
This is their... So
Is it track only?
I believe
It's actually
so.
road legal.
It's legal, but I think it might be one of those things like what Ferrari was that? Was that the one that the LaFerrari where like you had to call and tell someone even if you owned it, you had to call Ferrari and tell someone you wanted to drive it, and they would bring it to the track for you.
Yeah, that was
The FXX.
That was the FXX. Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
That it might be one of those situations.
I don't think the FXX was road legal.
Yeah. I don't know.
Okay. Well, this one is street legal, but
It's got blinkers. That's how you know.
and power mirrors,
This is really a power mirrors? Oh my god.
Just like the
just like the AMG
AMG GT.
GT4s.
I've learned that power mirrors really amuse me.
Yeah, that's why I said it. You're welcome.
They are funny.
So, 2019 McLaren Senna. First of all, great name. It's about time someone named a car after that man.
Mm-hmm.
Base price $965,000 US.
Wait, sorry. Are there packages?
base price. Are there options?
I'm just reading the magazine.
Can I
It
get a
says
sunroof?
It begs the question.
base price
All right.
$965,000. So
Would
what do you
seem
get?
to imply.
What do you get for your $965,000? Well, you get dual overhead cam, 32 valve, 4-liter twin turbo V8 that puts out 790 horsepower and 590 pound-feet of torque.
It's a fair amount of horsepower.
But that's less torque than I thought.
What's the displacement?
4-liter.
Yeah.
That's a small V8 though.
4-liter twin turbo. That's a good point.
Yeah.
7-speed dual clutch automatic rear wheel drive, 2,850 pound estimated curb weight, 0 to 60 in 2.7, top speed 208.
Nice.
On sale, sold out
Well, obvious.
already.
Already.
Already. So, McLaren Senna. Finally, McLaren makes one of these type of cars to challenge the 918 and the LaFerrari and all those types. Where this gets really interesting is in a couple of different ways. First, the person who wrote this is a man by the name of J.R. Hildebrand.
Mm-hmm.
Those of you who are familiar...
You had to.
I tried to do it quietly.
Nope, that probably went
We
through.
are human. We require beverages and sustenance sometimes during these podcasts.
I'm just going to do it into the mic next
So,
time.
Now
just,
people
just
know.
make it really obvious.
Now people
Yeah.
know. So, anyway, this article was written by J.R. Hildebrand. Those of you in IndyCar circles know this name quite well because he has been either a full or part-time IndyCar driver for the better part of 7 or 8 years.
Even I've heard of the guy.
Yes, I've heard the name for sure.
Most people know him because as a rookie at Indianapolis in 2011, he was leading on the last corner of the last lap, and then he crashed.
Ooh.
He still kept his foot in it, and with a half a car, slid across the line in second.
Nice.
Impressive.
The late Dan Weldon snuck through to get his second and what would be his final Indy 500 win that year, but that's what most people know him for. Indy Lights champion, Formula 2000, won all the way up the ladder. But what's interesting about JR is his other interests outside the track. Like, he turned down a scholarship to MIT
Wow.
to go racing. He is a super, super analytical, smart dude. He has guest lectured at places like Berkeley in engineering. He's very involved with the STEM programs for local schools, the science, technology, engineering, mathematics programs. And normally when these magazines do these car tests, if they bring in a driver, it's just, hey, we brought in this driver to drive it. This is what he said. And there's an actual writer writing that. Mm-hmm. He wrote it.
Sure.
He actually penned the article, which is something really cool. He's part-time in IndyCar this year. He ran the 500, but, he did the Pikes Peak hill climb this year. He's done, he's raced Formula Drift before.
Wow.
He's raced before the IMSA ALMS merger. He raced ALMS for a while. Very versatile guy and very interesting dude. So I wanted to bring that up. And you were talking about, you saw the cover and you said, oh, it's a revelation. If there's one...
Don't put that in my... That's what they have on the cover.
Right. And you read that, and I said, I'll get to that. Here's what I'm getting to. If I have one critique of how JR wrote this, I think as a first-time author, he was way, way, way too complimentary.
Too effusive.
Yeah, he didn't find a whole lot wrong with anything. And
maybe,
maybe, I don't know.
Maybe there's not a lot wrong with it.
But he was talking about how great, technology advancement and, what this car can do on the fly with its adjustable wings. And it actually has the inlets here on the front. You guys can't see this, what I'm pointing to if you're listening, but in the front, just below the headlights, there's little arrow bits in there that actually move as well. It's not just the rear wing that moves. So all this different technology stuff. And I want to bring up this quote to really start this discussion because I thought this was perfect. By not being a modern race car in a competitive championship, the Senna is everything that championship race cars once stood for.
So is this the car that has the pivoting rear wing?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, not pivoting left-right. It rotates up and down.
Rotates up and down. Okay, so there's
almost like a sail.
That actually has one that goes.
Yeah, this has got the one almost like the Bugatti where it's like a sail.
Gotcha.
But I just love that quote because back in the day in motorsports, it was all about technological advancement and run what you brung and all this kind of stuff. And you're looking to see the next cool new thing that people are testing out with motorsports as kind of your breeding ground, right? Where nowadays they come out with this brand new stuff and they immediately have to like castrate it to fit into a performance window. And that kind of bugs me. I'm kind of longing for the run what you brung days and just to see the all-out performance of a car.
Well, here's something I'll bring up. I mean, manufacturers all over the world do this kind of thing where they race a car and then make a better car, quote unquote, for the roads. I mean, the Bugatti Chiron, that super ugly thing. I think it's a Chiron. So, and obviously before that,
She-Ra.
yeah, and obviously before that, the
Veyron.
the Veyron, Wow, can't believe I just forgot that one. That's right, that car's ugly too. Then this is obviously, I think, from McLaren. They haven't necessarily done anything like this before, have they? What?
Well, the F1.
Oh, right. No, I meant in their modern history now they've gotten back into motorsports, into...
Right.
Yeah, yeah, of course, the F1. So this is something that hypercar manufacturers do with some regularity, even the LaFerrari. But I don't know. I think it's interesting to see a company that does do racing also make a hypercar, because it's unlike the Pagani thing. They just made tons and tons and tons of hypercars and never went racing with them. So, I mean, what does he say in there about any racing pedigree feel, or does he just say it's completely non-existent?
No, he said it feels. He said he was talking about how it feels. The whole thing is 100% race car. It's a race car that is street legal, basically, and it. You know, how he's talking about how stable it was at high speed. He was talking about how there was a corner that he's like, oh crap, I kind of missed the brake point there. How's it going to react? Maybe he did it on purpose just to see for the purpose of testing, and he's really good, so he can, pull out of whatever situation he was going to put himself into. But he said the response was instant, the response was quick, it was smooth, it was like nothing was wrong. And, it's my point is the fact that race cars aren't built to the ultimate spec anymore. It's actually the road cars are better than the race cars.
Right.
Which I think it should be the other way around. I think that it's a grumbling thing, the whole, the acronym, the BOP. It bothers me. I don't think it should be there.
I think without it, though, you're going to run into issues with the field. I mean, imagine,
huge.
Without BOP, imagine, things like, the Corvette, like, as great as it is, even the ZR1 Corvette going against, like, a McLaren on a racetrack.
By the way, we're talking about BOP, balance of power. Basically,
balance of performance, yeah.
Balance of performance, yeah, sorry. If your car is faster, they weigh you down, so it's less fast.
Yeah,
it's basically what it comes down to.
Yeah, restrict airflow, restrict refueling times, restrict weight, to make the cars competitive against each other. And I think by nature, these cars are not designed to be similar, but by the definition of motor racing, you could, for example, like, I think that works for something like DPI or some of those crazy Can-Am cars.
Mm-hmm.
They had weird shit like fans on them, and to like push them down onto the road, like all sorts of weird stuff that would never be street legal. But I think when you're trying to compare, several very disparate street legal cars, some of those are going to be fantastic in their own way. Like, for example, the Corvette has to be detuned to be raced because that motor makes a ton of power.
Right.
But then on the other hand, the McLaren has to be weighed down because it weighs so much less than the Corvette. It's like the Corvette, you could out-drag race a McLaren probably, but then you put it on a racetrack, the McLaren will spank it because it's nimbler. Like, you have to accommodate for all those things. And what I think is that everybody seems to be hit by the BOP. I don't think anybody is running 100%. That's what I think. That's where I think the problem lies. Is that they don't take the slowest person and just kind of, go off of that, even though they kind of say they do. Like, somebody has weight added, where somebody has a horsepower restriction, where somebody has a fuel flow rate restriction. Like, nobody is untouched by BOP. And I think that if you made it so that everybody was competitive with the lowest car in a class and went from there, I think BOP would be more palatable.
So, for instance, in this year's GTLM class, like, just base everything off of the BMW M8.
Right. And as per usual, they're trying to go for total, distance covered in a race. So if you make up time in the straightaway, you make up time in the curves, make up times in the pits or whatever, that's where they kind of balance everything, I think. But instead, they're kind of like, okay, BMW M8, you don't get any weight added, but you've got way more horsepower than this Porsche. You get detuned but then because that's been detuned, it's now slower, so we have to add weight to everybody else. Like, it's this big shuffle that doesn't really ever work, and I think it's because they're trying to not just kind of pull from one standard about lap times or total race distance covered. They're trying to make it so that they're actually competitive, like, on the track. So you don't get, like for example, like in the Corvette McLaren situation, if they unleash the Corvettes and didn't add a bunch of weight to the McLarens, take Road America, for example, they'd be coming out of turn 14, the Corvette would stomp it and would disappear. Like, yeah, and it would be gone down that long front uphill, tons of torque, make up a ton of distance, down back into turn 5, make up a ton of distance, maybe even through the kink on the back down into Canada Corner. All these big long straights, the Corvette is going to make up a ton of distance, but then it might very well lose a ton of distance when it gets curvy, versus making it kind of close everywhere. Like, someone might have a small advantage. I don't see why they can't play it as a game of big advantages versus a game of small advantages where everybody's brought down. That's my take on the BOP, and why I think we don't see street cars being the kind of little brothers to track cars, is because nobody on the track is allowed to run 100% pretty much. Maybe in some of this really, really far down, like when we get into ST in Continental Tire,
I was gonna say, I think
stuff
those
like
minis
that.
are
Yeah, but I think
really
especially when you're looking at the big boys in GTLM, everybody's got something going on, and I think we can fix it by running off of total lap times. Allow very noticeable difference in type of performance. Like in previous episodes, we've talked about, it's fun watching how different cars make pace, and like, oh, here it's fast there. But these are like minor differences, generally. Right. If you allowed them to be really huge differences, I think it would still be interesting, maybe even more exciting.
I was gonna say, do you think that would put on a better show?
No, I think that's a worse show, because I think it's going to be one of those things where the smaller the difference between the two cars, the more noticeable it is in a race result. I mean, look at the difference between that Camaro review I brought up, the Camaro and the Mustang. Those two cars, under this theoretical new hierarchy, would be pretty much exactly comparable. They're more or less the same cost. They're more or less the same in every way. The Camaro would stomp the shit out of the Mustang. It was 6 seconds faster on one lap.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying, is that you'd base it off the Mustang then. You'd allow some people to remain untouched.
Unhinged.
It's like, and it depends on how they make it up. So, for example, yes, the Camaro, probably based on that review, it's not power compared to the Mustang. It's probably handling dynamics.
Right.
So they would get weight added, but you would allow something of the actual street car to remain and allow it to shine. Everybody is dulled in every aspect with BOP. If you allow it to, like, hey, we've got the whatever engine they use ZL or whatever's in the LS or whatever's in the Camaro, like, hey, Corvette can be like, or Chevrolet can be like, hey, look at this, we've got the LS 97, whatever they call it, I don't know. Right. Not a Chevy guy, but like, unleashed its full potential on the racetrack. Like, I think that makes for a much more exciting road to track comparison than, like, all these cars are about 2/3 of what they are on the street, or less all the time. I think that, it wouldn't necessarily result in race differences that are that different in total time around the track. It would just be that I think you'd see a lot more passing. I think that would make for better racing.
You know what? I think you'd see a lot more passing too, but it wouldn't be exciting passing. It would be slow traffic passing. You know what I mean? If for example,
and it would also be predictable. So, like, you would know coming up the front stretch, okay, the Corvette's going to pass these 3 cars. Road America front stretch. And then once they get into turn 5, 6, 7, 8, be like, okay, those 3 cars that the Corvette just passed are going to pass them right back.
I don't even know if it would be that drastic. My thought is that unless you redid that specific BOP for every single track you raced on, you're just going to have...
Which they do. They reevaluate it every week and rebalance it.
That's true, but they're making very small they're making very small adjustments because they can do that. Everyone's limited in some way. They can make very small adjustments to make the racing on track good. You would have to redo huge differences to these cars in this way, because if one car's running unrestricted, say there's that like, to go back to the Corvette Mustang thing again, that was on one track. That was on Streets of Willow. The Camaro stomped the Mustang, just obliterated it. They wouldn't even be allowed on the track at the same time. It was so much faster. Now let's say they take it to a track, maybe even like Road America, that has some nice long straights. In the drag races, the Mustang beat the Camaro, not by 6 seconds, but it still won. So maybe it just out-drags it, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, that's all fine, but then what are we doing to completely rebalance that? We now have to completely reverse field on two cars just from, just in a track weekend.
Like I said, I don't have any, behind the scenes on how the science would work. I think we were just talking about what the BOP does, and I think that would be a way to have it, to have it be more interesting.
Yeah, but the thing is, the car that's going to be slowest is going to change depending on what track you go to. Is what I think.
That already happens. That's already true.
It already happens, sort of. But then again, BOP also allows for, and I have no metrics to back this up other than what I've seen over the past couple of years as I've more closely watched racing. The cars that are the slowest at the beginning of the year, while they may have tracks that they are faster on, they tend to stay the slowest. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's not like the minis. Well, we use them because they're hilarious. They're so clearly going at full chat on every single track through every single corner, but they never finish first. You know what I mean? They're just...
And one, I think that's an issue, and I think that's part of why they're getting rid of that class. That's a class that's too broad, is the problem. That ST class allows everything from minis to like non-M BMW 3 Series. Like, it's not even close.
There's a Porsche Cayman in it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the alternate is also not feasible. I think no BOP, just let them run. No one's going to race. They're going to drop out.
Here's what I'll say about that, and something I'll bring back to this quote here. I think that people now are too smart for there to be either a lessened BOP where only certain things are touched, or for there to be no BOP. Because if we take it back to some old school NASCAR shit, all right? Yeah. Let's talk about the Plymouth Superbird. Back in the day, a giant-ass stapler-shaped wing shattered the entire culture of racing. That car, I mean, did it even last a full season, the Superbird?
I think so.
I think it maybe was like one full season before it got hit with a balance of power, because it was that much faster. It instantly became American legend. People are too smart. Engineers today are too good. And, I think if the contest was your very best car against the other manufacturer's very best car, looking at the Senna, this is objectively a pretty cool car. This car does not stand a chance against even the P1 from the same manufacturer, McLaren. The P1 is way faster. The LaFerrari is way faster. The 918, way faster.
Right.
I mean, it's just...
Right, and that's I think the problem is, depending on what you're looking to do as a manufacturer, motor racing, as we know, is seen as basically advertising.
Yeah.
And, but as we discussed at length in the episode with Nick about, what do we want the Corvette to be? It's like, the Corvette...
We don't need to bring that up again.
...is, the Corvette is going to be the best car Chevy makes. They're frankly not interested in making something like a P1.
Right.
So...
Or maybe they are.
So it's like, all right, or even, any of the, McLarens that are currently running. I forget all the numbers. I hate McLaren number designations, but
I think it's the 570. No,
650.
Yes.
Yeah.
And but it's like, okay, so therefore, everybody just run your best car. All right, Chevy's out because they're never going to win. You lose your entire field that way, and I think that's a horrible way to go racing, because you're gonna have zero. You're gonna have the 3 cars that are obviously the best. Are gonna race and win every race, take the whole podium. They're gonna show up because they're gonna take the podium every time.
Right.
No one else is gonna bother to transport and field and pay everybody to do the cars.
Well, I didn't say they all had to run in one class.
Yeah, but you're gonna have like 30 classes.
Yeah,
Then.
you're going to have 30 microclass. Because remember, this is objectively the top tier of McLaren, but actually it's not. They make a car that's faster than this. And, so but is this really slow enough to run with Corvettes or with 458s? No, this is going to smash those cars around a track. So there's so many micro classes. Something like that.
What
If you do something
VOP
like that.
does is average those micro classes into 3 or 4 big classes.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as we and the drivers might complain about those changes that happen every week in response to what happened the week before, I think it's the only way to have a race class of any size that's going to be competitive.
Unless, of course, we all go spec racing.
Right.
Which is, I'm fully in
I
support
love
of
spec races.
I'm fully in support of spec racing because it is usually.
Can
the
you
most
imagine a
aggressive
field of
finish.
24 McLaren Sennas at full chat?
They didn't even make 24, did they?
I don't even know.
Everybody who bought one, get it on the track at the same time.
I mean, that would be...
It'd just be a bunch of people going 5 miles an hour in their McLaren
Very
Sennas.
carefully not to hit each other.
Oh.
But yeah, so I think, as fans of multi-class racing, we need to acknowledge the fact that BOP is going to be a fact of life. And I think that, sanctioning bodies all over the world have been trying to figure out how to do this properly for a long time. And this is honestly the best they've been able to come up with.
I don't have a downer on BOP at all, actually, because, well, I shouldn't say that. What I have an issue with is...
We almost made it to somewhere he didn't have an issue.
Almost.
That close.
The only thing that I have a problem with is F1 style BOP,
Oh.
where every screw, every little rivet, every single thing is so micromanaged.
Yes.
Where you don't get racing.
And that's not even BOP, that's just regulation.
That's just
F1
regulation.
is over-regulated within an inch of its life.
That's true.
So
Maybe that's not balance power.
we are
Or balance
cresting the
performance.
40-minute mark
Oh,
on the
shit.
podcast. So we need to decide if this is going to stay potpourri or if we're going to keep talking about this and just make it an episode.
I don't know that I have that much. Well, maybe I do. Let's see. Let's see what happens. So the difference between regulation and balance of performance, I don't know. I don't have the knowledge to really suss that one out too much. But what I will say is that at some point it becomes too much, but I don't necessarily know, like Tristan just pointed out, if it has anything to do with the actual balance, because F1 is pretty incredibly unbalanced when it comes to the actual
that's I
performance.
think you've answered your own question. That is why it's not BOP.
Yeah.
It is a formula under which people have to race, but they don't have BOP. It's like you have to abide by these rules. This, I don't even know if there is a constraint on budget, but you can only open or
Unrestricted
modify
budget.
parts at this time. You can only run this type of tire, and those are all rules. But it's not. They're not there to balance anything.
There's a box you can operate it in, but whatever you want to do inside that box,
Whatever you do with that box, however fast you can make that box go, that's up to you. So
It's just everyone ends up doing the same
that
thing.
it comes down to what
it's a
I was,
copycat sport. If they see it's working for one team or one person, everyone's going to immediately start trying.
Yeah, and it's kind of down to why when we were discussing, McLaren has frankly said all of our cars look the same because there is only one good way to do this. And I think it comes down to that. Given the rules and restrictions in place, all these engineers that are being paid huge amounts of money to make these F1 cars come to more or less the same answer because they have to fit within this box. So,
Is there what's the second quote you want to pull out?
yeah, because that was the first quote.
The first one.
What else? What else you got? Because we could actually split this into do our first 2-part episode.
We could.
Yeah, just keep it going and see where we end up.
All right, do you want to? Let's see here. That was really the only one I had plans of talking about. Well, the only other one that they really highlight, we'll just read that one. It's the experience that defines our love of cars, the surge of adrenaline we feel the first time we lift instead of brake, and which makes us grip the wheel extra tight.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, we're good with that.
Yeah, we're good with that.
I don't know. I guess I just ate an extra helping of member berries today, and just kind of made me nostalgic for some unregulated.
But wait. Nostalgic for what exactly? Because was there, and I'm asking this question genuinely, was there ever a time where racing was truly unrestricted?
And not as like a specifically designed. Like we talked about like Can-Am weird stuff where those were never going to be road cars. But when you look at like Trans Am, when Firebirds, Camaros, stuff like that, when they were racing, I don't know what that kind of regulation looked like. That was way back, but
Yeah, I mean, there was always something, but a lot of it was more with less micromanaging. It was a lot like Formula One. NASCAR is the same way. Like if they brought something in and realized, oh wait a minute, we can't have that.
well, that was, for example, when Audi came to Trans Am.
Yes,
They were like, "Hey,
with
we've
the
got
Quattro.
we've got all-wheel drive," and they're like, "Oh, no, you don't. That's way too fast." So they cut that. So
Okay.
I think that would
But
be
there's
something.
no regulation against it. They brought something new and something different and whooped ass for a year and a half until
They
everybody else,
changed the
until everybody else
regulations.
bitched. Yeah.
Yeah, until the regulations were changed, it wasn't like 1 week they raced it, and next week they added 700 pounds to the car because it had Quattro. Like it was a re-regulation. I think it's a lot of the stuff that F1 gets away with too when you see these new systems that come out and someone's super dominant for like a year. And then they either regulate that out or regulate it in. Say everybody has to have one.
Right.
Stuff like that. And I think that could make for some of it. I think that would work and does work in like what would functionally be single class racing. When you take a lot of these cars that are all going to be very similar to each other on the street and race them on the road, on road courses, I think that worked for that. I think it would be hard to see unrestricted multi-class sports car racing.
Yeah, I think you're right, but I'm just trying to think. So, going off what you said, if we were to build a class around the Senna,
What else would be in it?
yeah, what else is in it? I mean, we're talking about low 0 to 60 times. We're talking about a top speed in the low 200s. I mean, and well, the other thing about this car is because of where it ranks in McLaren's own line,
Hierarchy.
it has bomb-ass arrow to it. I mean, the
Yes.
huge wing, the front splitter.
Much force.
I think that's the technical term. When they were first drawing it up,
Yeah.
they said we're going to put bomb-ass arrow on
They
this
definitely
car.
did.
Where are they based out of? Walking?
Yeah,
Whatever.
in the UK.
Some Englishman saying
Walking.
bomb-ass arrow.
But no, it does. It comes from the factory with a giant splitter on the front
And a tremendous wing in the back.
a huge wing that's fully
It
functional.
reminds me of the amount of arrow. Certainly, it's far more complex now. But remember the Viper ACR?
Dude,
Yes,
I
was just
It reminds
going
me
to.
of that.
I was just going to say, would that be one that would go in this class?
I don't think that hit the low 200s.
No.
I don't
Speed-wise.
think it did.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, it can hit the low 200s, but
Is
on
it gonna
what
hit that on a
track
racetrack
ever going to get there?
versus
Maybe.
like
IR.
No.
Versus like
That
like
straightaway's not long enough.
one of
That
those
straightaway is mad long.
And it's
those,
not
like-
long enough.
one of those like super long banked rings is usually where they achieve those times. It's like an infinite straight line.
Or maybe that
basically.
last big straight on the Nordschleife.
Yeah,
maybe
sure,
when it's like
sure.
three
the
or four.
Mulsanne before they put the chicanes in.
Right. So where would they actually hit that top speed? Very few places.
I'm trying to think of. Didn't they say when we were at VIR that the Super Trofeo Lambos hit 200 on the back straight?
They can't go 200.
I think they can. You sure?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
All right.
Yeah, I don't think there's any straightaway long enough for them to hit 200. I mean, Indy cars can do 230 easy at Indianapolis. There is no road course on there's no road course on their schedule where they can get to 200. Road America's close. Road America, they're like going into turn 1 or going into Canada, they're 180, 185-ish.
Okay.
But it's not their full top speed.
All right.
So, but regardless, because of that, I would say that ACR Viper might work
Could.
because it's torquey enough to help it out of the corners. What else? What do you
I'm
think?
just trying to think of other performance cars. Maybe the 488.
Maybe the 480. I was gonna say the GT, Ford GT.
As a street car. You know what? Probably as a street car.
If we're talking just streetcar on streetcar violence here,
What is the regular Hurricane? possibly.
Well, and so that's
Or
why
the
I was
Aventador?
looking up the regular Huracan. Um,
Why do you do that?
is
how they say it.
because I can't be cool about anything.
In Italy.
Apparently not.
The LP 610-4,
Sounds
which
like a
is,
printer.
Which is sounds like an HP printer. Is that's what the McLaren originally reminded me of. It definitely stood for multifunction printer.
Yeah, there you
It's
go.
a multifunction
What is
printer.
it, the
MP4,
the
MP412C. So it's the
-C,
MP4. The MP4 multifunction printer 412-C for color. Yep.
C for
It's a color laser printer. But I think because that Lamborghini is the spec Lamborghini for Lamborghini Super Trofeo,
Yep.
it will go 212. Now, again, this is tested on like one of those basically infinite straights where the banking on a ring makes it seem like a straight, or
Right.
that really long one that like Volkswagen had to test the Veyron and the Chiron or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It will reach that speed in a straight line after a long time.
Right.
Would it ever be able to reach that on a racetrack? I doubt it.
The only reason I remember seeing something in the 200s is at VAR on that backstretch they also had the IMSA promo video on an infinite loop where they just showed the cars and numbers.
Oh, that's right. And that
And I thought it was somewhere in the 200s. Maybe they're announcers probably said something like they're almost touching 200
Yeah,
at
maybe.
the end of that straight, so that could be 180. Because really, when you're racing,
does it make that much of a difference?
right? Exactly. Going into a corner, you're eventually going to have to lift off.
Well,
Maybe.
maybe.
I don't know. I just think that there's so much of a difference between the products that manufacturers decide to put on tracks and the products that they decide to keep pure, that this car, sure, a revelation. It must be. If
It
this
says
guy's
so.
saying it is, it must be because he knows what he's talking about. But it can't go to a racetrack because it's, to use a term that doesn't seem like it should apply to a car, too pure. This is what McLaren specifically designed this car to be, and they don't want anyone to touch it. They
Yeah.
don't want anyone to screw with it.
It's almost like it wouldn't have a place to go
Right.
as far like if you try to put it in competition.
It definitely wouldn't. I don't know. I think it's an interesting thing because this car also doesn't fit with the rest of the field in terms of what you see from a hypercar, at least not as I see it. I mean, the thing for a decade or a decade and a half, however long the Veyron was around,
Yeah.
the fastest car in the world, yes, but also super opulent, like the best leather.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
The best
Opulent
of everything.
and tremendous.
Yeah.
Huge.
The car's
It's
massive.
never designed to be on a track.
Right.
Yeah.
But this has all of the appearance. It looks like that they made that Pagani Zonda that also had a printer name.
Yes.
That was
Cars
like,
what have names of printers.
it was like the fourth last one. Remember there was that episode of
Yes.
old Top Gear where they kept going through, this is the last one, this is the last
No,
one.
this is the
one.
last one. Yeah.
And it was like the Tricolore something, something, something. And it looked a lot like this. It had all the aero. It was all stripped out. And it wasn't even road legal because it was too loud.
Ooh.
That was the reason it wasn't road legal. It had blinkers.
So loud.
But it was too loud for roads. So this seems like it would go with something like that. But again, that Pagani was way faster. Well, maybe not way faster. Between 208 and 212. You know what I mean?
Right,
yeah.
What are we? But still, I don't know. Is this that, or is it something more like the SV Aventador, like we saw, where it has all the aero, but it still has a very comfortable interior? Did he say anything about that?
There wasn't a lot of talk about the interior in this article. I'll be honest
Believe
with
it
you.
or
Feel
not.
like he might not have been focused on that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it, the guy is by trade a race car driver, so
That's fair.
he sat in the seat, he put the belts on, and that was about all he talked about.
Does it have a 5-point?
I don't know. I don't think he mentioned that, and I didn't see any pictures from the from the seats. Again, interior was not the main topic
There
of
was a
discussion.
picture of him on the inside.
It looks like
yeah, it must.
Yeah, he's got one.
I mean, it looks pretty bare bones in there. I see a lot of carbon fiber, and then I see some more carbon fiber, and that. That's carbon fiber too. Yep.
Yep.
Much carbon fiber.
Yeah, I don't think you'd be comfortable in there.
Race car drivers are comfortable.
Race car drivers.
They're home.
They're at home in there. Are you kidding?
I think it's an interesting point you bring up, Nick, but I don't know. A car like this doesn't belong on a racetrack. It's too good.
Too good.
But that's right there's the crux of the problem. If you have a car that's really good, it does belong out there. That's the point.
It can't.
We can't. Wow, we can't put this one on the racetrack. It's too good. It's gonna beat everybody.
But that's
what you want.
But that's not even the issue. It's not that it's too good because it would beat everybody. It's too good because you have to remember what goes into a car becoming a race car. So we have to talk about all of the crashing. We have to talk about the unfixed cracks in the headlight, the warped body panels. Is that what you really want to see? You want to see a McLaren Senna with half its wing coming off because it got in a little accident? Is that what you want to see?
Battle damage.
That's right.
It's battle damage.
Yeah, chicks dig it, man.
Remember what happened at Road America? There were taillights all over the damn racetrack, just for no reason.
It did turn into a taillight graveyard.
There was a lot of bump drafting in a sport that doesn't allow bump drafting.
You want that?
To happen to a McLaren Senna?
You're nodding. I don't think you want that.
Yeah, I mean, if you go racing with it, you're gonna have spares.
Yeah, they made more.
Yeah,
Extra parts.
I mean, Jesus, come on, guys. All those teams have the oh shit cart, where it's just a whole rack of spares in case something happens.
A rack of unpainted carbon fiber parts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think the biggest issue is going to be how many of them would McLaren make?
They didn't make
Yeah,
enough for
like
sure.
If they're already sold out at $965,000 a piece, they didn't make enough.
If
if
homologation.
someone toasted one, would you as a race team be able to buy another one? Like, again, Lamborghini Hurricanes, not super prominent. You know, and I can't see 30 or so people commuting to them and work every time I go. Not like they're everywhere, but you can go to Lamborghini and say, "Please, can I have another one?" You toast this McLaren, and they probably wouldn't be able to make you another one before the next racing season.
They'll probably just come kill you for wrecking it.
Yes. No, they're British. They'll frown at you accusingly. Yes.
I can't wait for a Lil
Sternly
Pump to
worded
wreck
letter.
one of these, or
Yeah.
some other SoundCloud rapper to buy one of these and write it off in their driveway.
Some Russian oligarch.
Here's what I think we should do. I think we do a false ending. I think we split into two parts and we do the other one because we've got to be at over.
We're coming up on an hour.
We got to be at an hour.
All right, so I think they should race this thing. I think they should go lax on the BOP. My colleagues,
He agrees with Lax on the BOP. I don't.
yeah,
I agree with lax on the BOP, but I realize what kind of issues it would cause. It would need to be in a class with other cars that are already close, and as we determined, that's tricky. So I don't like what BOP does, but I also don't see an alternative.
I don't have a problem with it. I really do believe that modern automobile engineers are way too smart for there to be lax or very little BOP because, you know, like I accidentally kind of stumbled into, there isn't much BOP in F1, and that just is the most by rote racing on the face of the planet. It's just like, we get it already. I mean,
you see qualifying, you see all you need to.
yeah.
Yeah, the races are not as
Basically,
interesting.
Well, because in the races they have to race to a number for fuel and tires, so they're not going full bore in the races. They are going all out in qualifying, and it's magnificent to watch.
Yeah?
Those cars on the limit. Yeah.
I mean,
Because they get about as close in qualifying as they do in the race, so it's not like you have to worry about missing any passing or anything.
No, we missed that when we were accidentally watching F1 the other night. And,
Oops, I accidentally in F1.
It wasn't great.
Yeah.
I will watch qualifying before a race for that, and I'm a gearhead. I mean, I'll watch them race anyway, but qualifying in Formula One is way better. But that's off topic.
Yeah.
So we're gonna throw throw a false ending on this one. So we'll get it fired up here.
We're reading those.
Yeah, yep, because it's going to be the end of an
At the
episode.
end of the episode. All right.
And then we'll go right into the next one right away. We're just read the outro and read the intro
right
and
back.
I'll chop it up later.
Show and Tell Volume 2, Part 1.
Yep, exactly. And they will be spread out because we do want to get our interview with Josh in before we go see him race. So you will see Show and Tell, whatever I'm going to cleverly name this episode, Part 1, our interview with Josh, and then to kind of wrap things up, Potpourri for 100 or whatever I did last time. Part 2 is going to be coming up 2 weeks hence for you guys. So
Awesome. So thank you for tuning in and listening to us blabber about BOP and whether we should race street cars as they are or not.
all spawned by a quote about the McLaren Senna.
That's right.
Yeah.
This is what happens when you get us in a room together. But yeah, come find us on socials for sure.
Especially now. We got this interview coming up. It's huge.
It's huge.
Follow
Send
us.
us your questions for Josh.
Yeah.
Send us your questions for the interview. Find us on Facebook at Check Engine Podcast. That's where our big Balicki announcement was, along with our interaction with Mr. Ryan Eversley. Remember, hashtag Eversley to Penske. Like us on Facebook. If you don't like us, that's cool. But at least share us because odds are you know a car person who's probably going to be interested. Find us on Twitter at Check Engine Pod. Same with Instagram at Check Engine Pod. We also have a website where you can direct email us, either inbox at checkenginepodcast.com or Nick, Tristan, or Andrew, one of our names, at checkenginepodcast.com. Thanks so much to anchor.fm/checkenginepodcast for being our home base where all our streaming takes place. And thanks to all of those who stream our crappy episodes like Google Play, iTunes, Spotify, Overcast, Breaker.audio, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, and Castbox.
The way you sell that just...
That's awesome. Pure gold.
Our awesome episodes, you mean?
That's right.
Did I say awesome? Crappy? I meant awesome.
Exactly. There you
So,
go.
thanks everybody for tuning in. We're going to go right back into this again here. This is the end of Show and Tell Part 1.
Remember to give it a pause.
This is the end of Disc 1.
Oh, yeah. Please turn tape over.
Take it easy, everybody. Bye.